Yes, so we added the loss of accreditation as an important section in the policy because we saw that once we accredit social media practitioners in Malacanang and PCOO activities, that they may pass on the accreditation pass to another person that we did not screen. And so if we find out that they do pass off the ID, for example, I'm a blogger and I'm an accredited blogger of PCOO, and I pass it on to my friend who's also a blogger to cover the president because he wants or she wants to have a selfie with the president, then that blogger will both be blacklisted. So that's the reason for that section in the interim policy. We understand that it's a bit generic. You can be assured that as we implement the policy, the PCOO will refine the accreditation and loss of accreditation process.
How about, sir, the use of foul language or peddling fake news using the accreditation and access they were given?
Yes, if you remember, this policy did not just happen overnight. We actually called for a social media town hall or an all-media PH town hall in Bahay ng Alumni back in February. And we had a very comprehensive omnibus social media policy, which covered the purpose, the policy statement, the legal basis, the creation of a social media office, the official websites of PCOO and Malacanang, as well as a social media accreditation section or chapter. Through the months, we've continued our consultations with social media bloggers and social media practitioners. And we found out that we needed to divide that omnibus policy into three parts. The first part is the use of social media by public officers and public employees. We found out that the DICT already has a draft policy for social media use by government officers. And we defer to the DICT because their jurisdiction or coverage is more wide than the PCOO. So that particular part will be addressed by the DICT, the social media policy for use, the use of social media policy by government employees. The next carve-out is the creation of the social media office, and that is Department Order number 13, which designated the Assistant Secretary for Social Media, in this case, Assistant Secretary Mocha Uson, to lead the social media office. And the last is the social media practitioner accreditation policy. Now, there's several debates, and if you remember back in February, the requirements to become an accredited social media publisher would be you have to be in the daily dissemination of original news content. You have to practice for at least 12 months. To balance that, we said, okay, the reach or the following could be as little as 1,000, as long as you generate original content daily. Now, when we discussed this with the social media practitioners or bloggers, as well as with Assistant Secretary Uson, they found those proposals too much and opted for a more populist requirement, which is a 5,000 minimum requirement, and no longer using the term daily but regular dissemination of original content. Now, as you can see on the cover page of the policy, it is an interim or a probationary social media policy for accreditation. And so you will see some more revisions as we implement the accreditations process. As far as we know, there is no national government, at least the office of the president in any country, that has also a solid social media accreditation process for bloggers. Exceptions are the international organizations like the United Nations. We tried to abide by the UN minimum standards, but with discussion with Assistant Secretary Uson and her staff, they opted for a more populist, open accreditation process. So we will revise it as we go along. So, for example, we had to delete the limitation regarding the use of profanity because it might encroach on their freedom of speech. And so we will revise it accordingly. later on as we implement the
So
policy.
as of now, bloggers are allowed to use profane language, write fake news with the policy?
No, no.
So what are the standards? How exactly do we implement quality control over the people we give access to, the president? And
All right. So there is a presumption that when you're given accreditation, that you will conduct yourself like an ordinary law-abiding Filipino citizen. So what I mean to say is there's no need to expressly state that you're not supposed to use profanity in any of your articles. What the policy is merely doing is lay down a particular standard on how to access the president. I insisted with Assistant Secretary Uson and Secretary Andanar that we have to come out at least with an interim or probationary social media accreditation policy rather than without, because without, then it's done on a case-to-case basis. And at least with an interim or a probationary social media policy, at least there's a minimum standard that, although imperfect, of course we will improve on it as we go along. So the presumption is those who will be accredited are law-abiding Filipino citizens who will not use profanity in their articles, who will not use fake news. And then later on, once we observe that those who we accredited do not abide by the regular courtesy expected from them, then we might have to add that particular requirement or limitation on the accreditation.
Maricel Halili.
Hi, Azek. Good morning. How about those bloggers who are critical of the Duterte administration? Will they also be accredited to cover the events of the president?
Yes, thanks for that question. That's precisely why we came out with an interim and probationary social media accreditation policy, just to show that the palace is open both to supporters of the president and those critical of him. Because without the policy, then it's on a case-to-case basis. And then those who are critical might say, oh, you're playing favorites. That's why we have, it's imperfect, but it's something new. It's new territory. We are pioneers in this. And we will see how these social media bloggers will go. Hopefully, once they get accredited, they realize the importance of the accreditation that they received and they behave properly.
And yung content ng mga blogs nila, meron ba tayong requirement?
In the initial draft, Maricel, we put a limitation that, but when we did, it's including profanity, we were in a heated debate regarding freedom of speech. So the content is free. As long as it's their own opinion, it's free.
Okay. Thank you. Ace Romero, to be followed by Tina and Bella Carriazo.
Asek, just a few clarificatory questions.
Sure.
So, categorical answer. The
Sure.
use of profanity, will it merit the loss of accreditation? Yes or no?
All right. So as the use of profanity, the policy is silent.
Silent.
The policy is silent. We leave it to SMO, headed by Assistant Secretary Uson, to decide on that. Because on Section 6, accreditation may only be withdrawn, cancelled, or suspended for any of the following: abuse of rights and privileges extended by PCOO, and put his or her accreditation to improper use. I have brought up with the Office of ASEC Uson in the accreditation process that they will sign some kind of terms and conditions. And maybe, although it's not in the policy, it might be in the terms and conditions that they should not use profanity. But that's still up to her. Although I'm the ASEC for Policy and Legis Affairs, since she is the ASEC for social media, the ultimate decision on how to handle the social media accreditation lies with her. I merely guide her with the legal and policy process.
Kasi sa media, bawal ang profanity. Anyway, second question. You said they are required to produce regular but not daily content. But when we say regular, yung consistent. So yung consistent can also be weekly, can also be monthly, can also be yearly.
Yes.
So, kahit yearly, basta regular, pwede ba yun? Kasi regular eh. So, when I post every year, that's regular. So, how do we define regularly?
As long as the applicant can prove that he regularly publishes original news content, whether that's on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, then he or she will get accreditation. I think yung once a year, sobrang stretch naman yun. Hindi na yun regular, periodic na yun. No? So when the issue of daily was brought up during the first consultation with the social media practitioners, some objected to that because blogging is not their first job. I mean, they have day jobs and then they do blogging regularly. But they said, we can't do original content every day. But we do original content, ASEC, they mentioned. What if we do content 3 times a week? With your very high standard, we won't be able to be accredited. So the compromise is to have just to prove that he or she has regular production of original content.
Pero di ba mas maganda kung mas defined yung regular? Kasi sinabi nyo up to once a month, pwede yun eh. Di ba parang mas maganda kung mas
Kung
specific?
clear. We'll see how it goes. No? If you have people who are applying and they're applying and their blog is once a year, then there needs to be a clear definition. But right now, we'll stick with regular dissemination of original content.
Thank you, Ase.
Okay, thank you, Ace. Last 3, Tina Mendez, Belia Carriazo, and Joseph Morong.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, since yung accreditation of social media practitioners entails the coverage of the activities of President Duterte and the Office of the President, and how do you intend to implement this vis-a-vis the role of the Malacan Press Corps and other members of the mainstream media who are also covering the President? Do you intend to... that's it. That's the first question.
They will be given access the same way any of Malacanang Press Corps or mainstream media will have when they cover the President.
As such, they will also be given access to regular press briefings, such as this one?
Yes, that's one of those, that they will be able to cover the press briefing.
So how also will PCOO implement yung rules on objectivity and ethics in delivering news?
I don't think we impose any rules on ethics on the Malacanang Press Corps, the PCOO. You're self-governing, so we expect the same from the bloggers who will be accredited.
Belia Carriazo.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, hindi ba masyadong maliit yung 5,000 followers to be accredited as member of Malacanang beat reporter?
Yes, there was a big debate. That's the reason why there's a delay in coming up with the full policy, because one of the biggest debates, and I'll admit it frankly, is the reach. How do we determine reach? And some people say should be as minimum as 1,000. There's 5,000. There's 10,000. One blogger even said it has to be 100,000 to be accredited. But then if you put it at 100,000, then you are then turning your back away from the bloggers in the provinces that have smaller followings. That although are influential and people follow them, not as big as, let's say, bigger bloggers with 100,000 or 1 million following. So that's a big debate. And hopefully, as we implement the policy on accreditation, we will be able to find the correct reach requirement. So right now, it's at 5,000. In implementing, we will see if we need to increase it.
Kasi sir, ngayon ba lang ang dami ng comments sa Facebook na 5,000, napakadali pala natin magkaroon ng accreditation sa Malacanang. Sir, hindi ba, sorry for the word, pero hindi ba binabalahura yung institution na knowing presidential palace, tapos kung sino-sino na lang yung i-accredit natin dito?
Actually, hindi lang, one thing has to be cleared. it's not as if you have 5,000 followers, because I have 5,000 followers, it's easy to get naman 5,000 followers, that you will be automatically accredited, or you can force yourself to be accredited by the palace. You have to still fall under the definition of social media practitioner, which means you have to produce regular, original news content. So even if you have 5,000 followers, 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, but you cannot prove that you produce original content on a regular basis, then you will not be given accreditation. So may qualifier pa rin yun. Hindi siya automatic na porket may 5,000 ka, makakuha ka ng accreditation.
So sir, we were informed that you, Secretary Andanar, signed the DAO last Tuesday. Parang hindi ba minadali yung signing? Kasi di ba na-criticize ang mga vlogger being accredited do sa ASEAN, tapos biglang sinign yung DAO. Para bang linilegitimize ba natin yung coverage nila, kaya natin sinign yun?
No. Like I mentioned, this social media policy has been up on the drawing board since January, February 2017 this year. So it's already 8 months. Delayed na nga ang paglabas. Ilang beses ko na pong tinawag ang pansin po ni Assistant Secretary Uson sa ni Secretary Andanar na sinabi ko sa kanila, Sir, ASEC, we need to come out kasi without a policy, then people might question that there might be favoritism. Now that there's a policy, then at least it's open to everyone, regardless if you're supporting the president or critical of him. The fact that the DO came out during the time that there was an issue is just coincidence. Hindi po yun planado o hindi po yun knee-jerk reaction.
Sir, sorry ha, lulubusin ko na. Kasi being a beat reporter sa Malacanang, sir, magsisimula ka muna, supposed to be, pag mainstream ka, magsisimula ka sa police, magsisimula ka sa mga mabababang beats. So talagang special talaga yung pagkakaroon ng mabibit ka sa Malacanang. Pero when you accredit the vloggers, parang, diba, nagsisimula kami sa mababa, tapos kayo, porket 5,000 lang yung followers, i-accredit nyo na. Diba, parang napaka-ironic nun, sir. Kasi diba, tapos ang mga journalists, kumukuha ng 4-year course, mass comm journalism, para lang makakuha ng trabaho na kagaya nito magbibit. Pero sa inyo, sir, kinukuha nyo as vlogger, pwede na mag-cover ng Malacanang.
We empathize with journalists who went through a lot of study and rose from the ranks from being a beat reporter all the way up to being a senior editor. And we know how difficult it is to get to Malacanang. But we have to recognize new media and the influence, and they're able to share news from Malacanang and from the president, and there has to be some way where we're able to legitimately recognize the coverage of their president.
Sir, tululubusin ko na rin, sir.
Sige,
Sorry,
ilabas
sir,
mo na
minsan
yung...
ako maka-attend eh. Sana nakikinig si Asep kung mukhang may iba siya. Anyway, sir, yun nga, sir, di ba, hindi ko alam kung bakit masyadong hinihaze nyo, ano ba yung masyadong frustration nyo, bakit nyo kailangan implement tong ano. For the record kasi, sir, against ang mainstream media dito sa accreditation ng mga vloggers sa Malacanang. And for the record din, sa ibang beat, ayaw din nila ito. Kayo lang, si Secretary Antanar lang ang gustong-gustong ma-accredit ang mga vloggers sa Malacanang.
Okay, thank you. Actually, hindi lang naman si Secretary ang may gusto, no? Pati yung Presidente, because if you've noticed that a lot of bloggers who supported him during the campaign, the President opened up Malacanang to them. So it's really administration decision to really recognize social media practitioners in this administration to cover activities of the President and PCOO. But we hopefully we'll be able to get a balance between mainstream media and social media. Not so long ago, before I was born, anchormen TV, journalists in TV were also brandished the same by radio journalists. And before that, newspaper journalists also questioned the legitimacy of radio journalists. So as journalism progresses, from print to radio, from radio to TV, we have to recognize the new media, and in this case, it's social media. And hopefully we'll be able to strike a balance between journalists from the traditional means and from new media.
Okay,
Sir,
and please,
isa na lang, Rocky. Kasi sir, alam natin na hindi maganda yung relasyon ni Secretary sa ibang beat. So, why not, di ba, ayusin niya yung relasyon niya sa mainstream media bago ang kinukuha niya na, yung mga vlogger para may makuha siya na, sorry ha, kay Asek ha, wag niyo, nanonood ka ngayon tapos ibabash mo na naman kami ng Malacanang press corps. Pero siyempre, di ba, walang magsasalita para sa mainstream media. Kailan pa tayo magsasalita, di ba? Ito na to eh.
Okay. Makakarating po kay Asek. Sorry.
okay, actually dapat last two, pero iksiyan nyo na lang ang questions sa Joseph Morong, Tricia Macas, and Ace. Maiksi lang.
I'm reading the guidelines for accreditation in conjunction with the DO13. No,
Yes.
Those accredited bloggers, in terms of content, what are your expectations?
All right. So again, going back to the original draft, Joseph. No. So what I wanted before was for those covering the president to write stories about the president, because that's the reason why we're giving them accreditation. When we held consultation, the social media bloggers actually said that we should not control the content of or whatever they write. So we deleted it. So as the policy, we deleted that phrase wherein they have to write, meaning to say, they were saying that we can't force them to write. So they will cover the president, but we can't force them to write. Again, it's using the freedom of speech. And so there is no requirement for them to write, but they will be able to cover the president and PCO activities.
What do you mean, no requirement to write? Write what?
Content.
What kind of content?
Any content that they observe during attendance of any of these activities.
Whether favorable or not?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Tricia Macas.
Hi, Asek. Good morning.
Hi, Tisha.
Sir, we're gonna give access to social media users to the president. So, did the Presidential Security Group agreed or approve your accreditation for 18 years old with 5,000 followers? That's a lot. I mean, kahit na marami rin sa kanila na nagpo-post regularly. Can you give us a scenario how many social media users are going to accredit per activity? Because I understand that the accreditation is per activity basis. So,
Yes.
Can you give us a scenario? Ilan balik? Kasi what if, I mean, you want to give access to a lot of social media users, and go ahead. Pero, inisip ko lang po, like, how will the PSG handle it? And how will you handle it kung paano, like, thousands of social media users would want to get accredited?
Yes. So that's another issue, no? If we lower the reach to 5,000, then that means more people will be able to access. If more people will be able to access, how are they going to fit in Kalayaan Hall? Much more if we transfer back to new executive building. We had the assurances of the office of ASEC MOCA and the social media office of PCOO that they will be able to provide more detailed guidelines on coverage of press briefing. Not going into particulars, but for example, you won't be expecting 50 bloggers in a press briefing. It will be done just to accommodate maybe 5. Yung kaya lang. So, meaning to say, it's going to be, the details are still with the office of ASEC MOCA, but I think that it's going to be, for example, for one press briefing, this set of 5 will be able to cover. The next set, yung susunod. Now, whether or not her office will be able to accommodate the volume, because I did raise that. No, there's a possibility that there's a volume concern. We will cross that bridge when we get there. All right. So first of all, is you will get accreditation from PCOO. Once you get accreditation from PCOO, that's still subject to PSG clearance. So we have the assurance from the office of ASEC MOCA that they've already coordinated with PSG. So first is PCOO, but it's not automatic. Not because you get PCOO accreditation that you'll be able to cover. since you'll be covering the president and since you'll be in Malacanang grounds, you still need to seek PSG clearance like all members of the Malacanang Press Corps.
Okay.
So even if they get accreditation, they don't have, PSG denies it, then they won't be able to cover the president. So, requirement yun.
Sir, follow up. Since you need 3 days to approve the accreditation of the bloggers, of the social media users, will you give, and diba it's a per activity, yung accreditation per activity, will you give them the schedule of the president in advance? Since they can't, I mean, paano nila masasabi na I'm going to cover this if you don't give them the schedule of the president for the week, for example? For us, the Malacanang Press Corps, we only get the schedule of the president like minsan less than 24 hours before the event. So, paano po yun?
You can be assured that the information you receive will be at the same time it's received by them. They will not be getting priority. So, when you get the information, that's also the same time that the accredited bloggers will be getting their accreditation. And, all right, the statement is stated in the negative. Daily, unless specified. So, ang mangyayari is, ang back is, tawag doon, ang pinaka-back is yung daily, sorry. Minimum, the general rule is daily, sorry. I'm trying to reread the provision in my head. Because I argued na the accreditation should actually be for 1 whole year, but they changed it to daily, and then I added unless specified because I understand your how will you know the very next day? So the general rule is they will be given advance notice the same way you are given advance notice, but no earlier than you.
Okay.
So, sir, ito lang. So, are you going to, like, kasi kami, we cannot, it's for your internal reference, di ba? So, are you going to impose the same rule to them na you cannot broadcast the schedule of the president?
Yes. For security reasons, they're not supposed to publish it. Otherwise, you put the life of the president in danger.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. Joseph Morong.
Can Ethel Buba or Wanna Change apply for accreditation and be assured that they can be given access?
All right. So if Ethel Buba and Wanna Change have at least 5,000 followers, that they can prove that they publish regular content, original or news content, and they're Filipino citizens and they're at least 18 years of age, and they pass PSG clearance, then yes, they can cover the president.
Okay, so my question lang, sir, sa MPC, how about the accountability daw of the bloggers that you're going to accredit? I mean, in the advent of the internet, meron namang citizen journalism, no?
Yes.
Citizen journalist. In an ideal world, this may be akin to that concept. But, well, things are different. Pero how do you exact accountability to those who you're going to accredit? For example, how are you so sure that this will be legit?
All right. So if you look at Section 6, if it's determined by the SMO that there's abuse of rights and privileges extended by the PCOO to the accredited blogger, then the accreditation may be withdrawn or suspended. So that's our assurance that we're able to at least in a very minimum way regulate whatever they produce.
Okay, thank you, Malacan.